Welcome back to the LTA Finals here for Split 2. Earlier today, some lucky LTA fans won Samsung SSDs in our Samsung Trivia Challenge. Congratulations to them. I heard some of the questions myself.
He's hyped.
They were they were definitely not easy questions in there, so congrats to the fans.
That's the face of a man who won an SSD.
Hell yeah, brother. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Captain Flowers. I'm a new caster bringing onto the show here to replace Mr.
Welcome.
Freak. Good to join you boys.
Do your best.
I'll try. I'll see what I can do if I can keep up here, because these two teams are clearly ready to bring it here today. FlyQuest had a very convincing performance in game number 1, and C9 just slammed them right back in game 2.
Yeah, super exciting. And we got to see strengths of both teams in game number 1 and game number 2. So now that we are deeper in Fearless, we get to whittle down on that game plan, because when you're going into all these matchups, you kind of account for some of the games is going to be like a Thanatos and Bessa or something like that, right? But as we get deeper and deeper, and remember that Bwipo even used one of his champions, the Renekton, in the first game. So we're going to start to make it a little bit more predictable as far as the top lane does go. FlyQuest consistently keeping up this Gwen ban to push him more towards like Gnar pick and Jace pick type of champions. And hopefully for them, try and have Bwipo get a counter pick, although Cloud9 did change their strategy a bit, and last time around they did red 5 counter here for Thanatos. Maybe they do it again.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see them do it again, but what I will say is if we do have Bwipo blind picking, he's probably going to go for another standard meta pick, and then when you're going into game 4, assuming 2 more are off the table, the pool starts to get way more limited than for Thanatos, and that's where it's going to become really interesting, you know, and you'll have to be able to prove as Thanatos that you're not going to be giving up a lot here when you have to go into these more weird picks that feel like that is the comfort zone for Bwipo.
All right, bans are done for the first half. Gwen, Bard, and Ahri banned out by FlyQuest. C9 getting rid of the Talia, the Callista, and the Vi. FlyQuest back on the blue side. We'll see how they want to start this draft off. That could be an interesting one. See if they decide to lock that one in. The Ryze, locked in for FlyQuest, could go to either solo lane.
Yeah, very popular after the last round of buffs. You know, very good split push, but also Ryze gets online so much earlier than you remember this champion getting online and being able to put out damage and pressure. So definitely could be a lot quicker.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, too, because, you know, Quad, obviously, he's known for the Cassio pick. Loki, not so much, but it would be fun to see if Loki actually brought out Quad's pick against him, because it is a good matchup into the Ryze, and it also takes away one of the picks from Quad, you know, for future games. So if he's comfortable on it, I think it could be a really good angle, because that means you don't have to actually give that comfort ban away anymore.
Cloud9 going with some sort of Senna lane here, which it does mean that you are saying, hey, we're not going to have a very strong early 2v2, but it does put that timer and that infinite scaling, soul collecting threat for your team later on into the game.
Happy Father's Day for all the dads out there.
Hell yeah.
New dad Azael as well.
Soon to be.
You get credit already.
The future timeline. The future timeline. But we do have the Poppy locked in alongside the Senna here for C9. Also flex potential with that Poppy, right? We've seen it go support. We've seen it go jungle. Sometimes people want to take it top lane. There's a couple of different options you can take for the champion, and it also really does a lot to shut down some of the mobility that your opponents might have otherwise wanted to draft, as Sion is locked in for FlyQuest. With that being picked, we pretty much know Ryze is going mid.
Yeah, it definitely is. One of the things I always think about as a weakness of Senna too is tank killing, right? So Senna, you know, not the highest DPS until you're getting really late in the game and you have an absurd amount of stacks. So Sion here, I think, makes a lot of sense as a blind pick and could be problematic here. We'll see what Cloud9 actually goes for. It's really funny because Cassio also fits the bill as a tank killer, and maybe there's no world in which Loki goes for it.
He's not going to
go Orianna.
At least not this world
That
right
is not
now.
a snake.
Yep. Yeah, it's not.
But I do kind of like the Smolder as well, kind of taking that one away, and being able to have that scaling in this going against the Senna lane. Let's see here, though.
Just a blanket proposal to anyone.
Yeah.
Well, no, it said Nick Smith, I love you before that. It was specifically a proposal to an arrow.
I just saw,
yeah, it was a multi.
I was like, brother's getting desperate. He's willing to take anyone.
Just anybody out there watching
Just
the
anybody.
show.
Please.
Really wants to be a dad also. Not going to be in time for Father's Day.
One comes in before the other.
Hey, that comes around every year, right? They're making
More
a down
chances.
payment on the 2026 version. All right, let's but back in the draft, we've got Jarvan and Camille banned out here in the second half of things. So let's see what we're going to continue seeing as we've got the AD carries locked in. We've got our mid laners locked in. We've got what is potentially, well, Poppy still flex for a couple of different opportunities here.
Yeah, I do really like the Camille ban. Obviously, you know, a lot of true damage here, answers the tank well, but also helps to solve some of the problems that they're going to have potentially with diving in on the backline. It's facilitated well by the Senna to allow you to play that split push style. And so I'm kind of looking at what Thanatos has played. I do feel like that was the best pick, maybe alongside something like a Gwen to kind of fit the bill.
Okay.
But that's always banned out already. So, you know, beyond that, it gets a lot more tricky. And I'm kind of curious, so is Thanatos going to go outside of the champions that he's already shown us? Obviously, you could just play like Gnar or something like that, but it's not exactly going to fix, I think, their tank killing problem.
And, you know, he has started playing tanks as well for Cloud9 a lot more recently, so he can try and go tank for tank matchup.
But do you want to go tank for tank against Smolder, right? And it's like that's the thing that I feel like is kind of tricky when you have, you know, Ryze who can play well through side lane, and you have Smolder that I do think, you know, scales really well alongside the Senna and is such a good tank killer later on in the game. You know, that could be problematic. So this is going to be really interesting. You know, they're going to be still allowed to have more time if they want. I do think it's a little bit interesting to see them take support on 4 because top lane's already showing. The only reason to really do this, if you don't just need more time to think about it, is because you think it's a good denial pick, right? So you are taking that away from Busio. But that being said, blind Alistar usually not prioritized super highly, and usually, like, I don't know. We'll just see what the answer is from Busio, I guess.
Yeah, I would say if you have Vulcan, then maybe that priority goes up a little for Alistar. Seos, who we had on the analyst test, was actually talking about it too at the beginning of the day. I like how much credit he was giving to Vulcan on the Alistar, see what sort of plays he can deliver. And it is also another Orianna Shockwave delivery.
Absolutely.
So a couple of options for them here. So FlyQuest, though, let's see rounding out this comp. Whenever you have Sion, you do want something a little bit quicker as far as the engages too. Rakan definitely fits that bill.
Yeah.
So can have a 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's about as standard of a jungler as you could get.
It's still up. It's obvious. It kind of fits the bill. Plays a good front line. You know, is going to fit the comp as far as the damage distribution does go. And so now is the question just going to be Gnar. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that feels like out of the champions that he has shown us, that makes the most sense because both the Camille and the Gwen were banned out. But I don't think it's like the best answer here. You know, generally speaking, you can hold on very easily as Sion in these kind of matchups unless you're getting put way down if you're getting chain dope by Poppy or something. Maybe that's problematic, but otherwise I just feel like Cloud9 could really struggle to deal with this Sion.
Yeah, so last game, I was watching game 2 backstage, just eating a bunch of jerky sticks the whole time. And everybody on FlyQuest was getting turned into jerky except for Bwipo. I feel like he was so locked in, and if he gets locked in this game, and the Sion hits that point that you're talking about where you click on him and all of a sudden Soul Furnace has a 2000 next to it, it's like, okay, what do we do? How do we answer this?
I'm going to need a, Photoshop of Bwipo and 4 jerky sticks now for the FlyQuest members.
Tasty, but you don't really want them to be your team. Yeah, exactly. It's all about the mental image here. But the image of this game is C9 has to make sure they can get through that powerful front line. Isaac, I also like you mentioning the fact that Xin can play the front line role well too. Non-subscribers will see you in 30 seconds, but for everybody else, I want to see how well FlyQuest bounces back now since C9 showed us how well they could do it in game 2.
Absolutely. I mean, C9 does have good playmaking. I think that is going to be the X factor in this game. Obviously, you have the Orianna plus Alistar combo. You have Blaber on a Poppy. You could find a really good stun or knock someone out of the fight. But if it is just kind of like these two comps smashing into each other later in the game, it feels like FlyQuest outscales. And I really do like the Smolder into the Senna. I really do like the fact that you're playing around this Sion. You know, Xin scales incredibly well. Like, I do think the whole team scales really well. And C9 is playing like a slow scaling comp too because they have the Senna and the Orianna. So they don't have the most levers to really get aggressive early. So I do think it's going to be down to those X factors, the playmaking. Otherwise, I feel like FlyQuest, I just like their draft a lot more.
Yeah, they do have a lot of options laid out for themselves as well. No sweepers early on or anything, so probably not going to be any shenanigans in level 1. And this game, I am definitely predicting will be much more calm in the early stages than, you know, the likes of game number 1. So it looks like we're in for a bit of a slower pace, Flowers.
You don't think Senna and Smolder are just going to get to scrapping right out of the gate?
Something gives me the feeling that they're going to be looking for stacks.
But something else we got to talk about, the curse of the upper bracket. No team except Cloud9 has ever won from the upper bracket, no #1 seed, of course. So that is FlyQuest, up in that upper bracket here, looking to try to break that curse, as so many of those top teams have fallen down before.
Funny because both of them on bottom side trading is like, I'm getting stacks. No, I'm also getting stacks.
That's what I was going to say, is as much as it is a scaling matchup, when I play Senna into 2v2s that don't have a lot of threat, you want to trade heavy.
All right, they're trading back and forth a little bit, but right now we've got Kangas standing by for an interview with C9 coach Reaper.
Thank you very much, Reaper. We see the trading already in the bottom lane. What were you telling to Zven going into this game as his focus to scale up on the Senna?
I mean, to be honest, they have only Rakan engages like good into the Senna. So just remind them to like be careful when you don't have flash and Rakan have a flash up timer. That's the time that only they can take over the game. Yeah.
Okay, well, it looks like laning phase is already going pretty well for you. We have a superstition here in the States where you pull petals to say they love me not. We're going to do it with we win not. So if you can take that and start ripping those petals here. First one is C9 win. All right, rip that one off there. There we go, C9 win. Now C9 lose. Now C9 win. C9 lose. Ooh, C9 win. Okay, inconclusive results from that one. That's it from us. Back to the casters.
That?
They don't need that last
Get
pedal.
that thing out
Well,
of there.
last pedal doesn't count
No one
anyway.
knows how that's going to end.
Yeah, no, you could never predict such a thing.
It's also worth mentioning, I think Massu and Busio, knowing this game is going to go late, know it's going to be outscaling. It's Conqueror here on Massu. He is not playing something early. He's also playing TP. So again, really focusing on scaling, really focusing on being able to actually whittle down this front line, maximize DPS, and it's also Spellbook for Busio. So again, not going to be playing Guardian, not worried about that early 2v2, looking more for the scaling option here where he's going to have the additional power of things like double smite at objectives, an exhaust that he can swap over to, or an ignite for some of these fights. And I actually really like the approach that FlyQuest bot lane is taking for this 2v2.
Spellbook is such an interesting rune, but it's so hard for a lot of roles to take it. Support is one of the best. We see Carrier take it sometimes. And one of the biggest factors, of course, is the buff with the cooldown reduction that was fairly recent, a couple patches ago. But I love when it enables supports to go for a lot more top lane plays. When you can switch over and have a teleport, and you go for a top lane play, and then just teleport back to the bottom side of the map, or vice versa. So hopefully we get to see some creative stuff and usage out of it from Busio.
Let's see what Inspired looks for up here in this top side as Bwipo is going to lead the charge. Immediately, the audaciousness from Inspired to jump in there, and Thanatos forced to flash away.
Yeah, pretty effective, pretty efficient as well.
And even more effective because look at the summoner spell cooldowns. Thanatos had just used his teleport. Now he's back in lane without the TP. He's already at half HP, and Bwipo still has his own teleport ready to use.
And I'd point to the CS differential already in the top side. He's down 10 CS, already had to use his TP early. That generally means you're getting your butt beat in that 1v1 if you got a TP back that early. Which is always concerning against a Sion, because Sion, when you're looking at physical damage from both Blaber and Thanatos, you come back with like a Warden's Mail, and all of a sudden you just don't take damage anymore.
So here's going to be our test, because Cloud9, I'm pretty sure they got information, and they'll just know that it is going to be, again, bottom side to top side clear for Inspired. So as long as they do time and again, Thanatos is going to know, hey, upon completion of second clear here, should be another Zhao visit up towards me. He has to play safe. He has no flash. They're going to need to get their deeper wards here to keep track of Inspired, because Inspired pretty much always is going to go for the efficient re-clears on his champions. It's no different on Xin, and we'll be making another visit.
Oh, Bwipo actually just got his recall interrupted, so he's going to pop a biscuit and has to stay around.
And they're actually going to go for Dragon instead here for FlyQuest. So Inspired actually, after just his red quadrant is re-cleared, they want to get that Dragon stacking going in their favor.
Ooh, Loki walking close to the line brush there on the side of mid lane, but not close enough to get trapped in the rune prison. Would have been a very bad situation if he did, considering Inspired was waiting right there. Vulcan knocked up into the air right now by the grand entrance. Inspired here, but so is Blaber. Zven and Massu continue trading back and forth, but Smolder has a lot more burst potential at this point than the Senna does.
Absolutely, and already out to 38 stacks, and that's the thing when you are playing Smolder. You get stacks, that accelerates your stacks, because every time you hit a breakpoint, it makes it easier to farm that much more. Ryze was cheating down here, threatening with the Realm Warp. If they could have found an aggressive angle, could have looked for it, doesn't find it though. And Bwipo now going to be TPing back towards topside, has some good early armor here, and this is going to make Thanatos' job a lot more difficult.
And Inspired has just been patrolling around this dragon for almost a good minute here on the Xin Zhao. Crab spawns here for him as well. They're just going to continue to fight C9 and see if they can get any little advantage before starting their dragon.
I really like this. So Busio walked over. He had his first Spellbook Summoner swap ready. So he just used the heal on Massu to sustain him up and then swaps over to Ignite. Now he's going to sit on the Ignite. So just rotating through these Summoner spells here, getting some value out of that. Massu hits 6 as he's getting that solo experience, and Busio's just hanging out with Inspired as he takes a dragon.
And because they know this is happening, Blaber uses that information. He's going to go look for counter jungling right now. So Inspired, not only did he spend a long time around the bottom side of the map waiting for this dragon, trying to get some advantages first and make sure it's secure, now Blaber here in the enemy jungle, but maybe Bwipo sniffs something because he just pops the plant, and they do hit.
What does Yordle smell like?
Oh man, no.
I'm gonna say not good.
No. I'm gonna go nope. I'm gonna nope
He's-
right on out of
he's the
this
one
one.
who went with the
I am
sniffing.
gonna use
You got
my
no answer,
veto-
Flowers? You got yes and.
Yeah.
Look, no, man. Look, there's
He's
certain
no-butting
questions
us right now.
that I have
Where's
spent.
Freak? Bring
I
him
have
back.
spent enough
Freak would've
time
done-
in Twitch chat to know the types of questions you are asking, and I do not want to see where those answers lead. I am not going anywhere near this.
Fair,
I am
fair,
going to walk
fair,
away.
Hey, chat. What does
No,
a Yordle
man.
smell like?
God
He went there.
bless it.
It's too
okay.
late.
Is it feet?
You can't take it back.
Nobody's got any feats secured yet in this game, Kobe. I know that's exactly what you're talking about, but there's no kills. There's only one neutral objective. 20 seconds until the grubs spawn. All 3 grubs going to be spawning up there in that top side.
And Quad is actually going to TP down towards bot, so they're going to keep the pressure on. Might be able to get a plate here, but won't stay around. I don't think he's in range, so I don't think he actually hit the tower. He's not in range. They're just going to lose that plate. So a little bit of a mistake there from Quad. Didn't actually tag the tower as he walked by because he pulled aggro as he was interrupting Vulcan. So does just kind of lose that gold into the ether, but it is going to be Smolder now playing mid, and we'll be trying to maximize those stacks.
An interesting thing, too, because Loki still has a few seconds on his cooldown here with Teleport. Realm Warp can get you close if there is a fight, so Quad has more movement, and we should see Quad, yeah, he's doing it now. You hover into the river so that you can threaten your Realm Warps to get over there for a trap, and Cloud9 are moving up towards the grubs. So they might actually do it. Loki is following.
Flash engage from Blaber for the slam into the wall. It's first blood given to Zven. As Busio is caught, you can see the flash still up because he had no chance to get away when Blaber saw his moment.
Yeah, and you could tell the comms leading up to that because they're like, okay, Quad, leak over, maybe you can Realm Warp, you can try and trap them, but because they actually have Loki chasing, he keeps vision the whole time, he can keep that pressure on him, and they get that pick. And actually, the first kill going over quite nice into the hands of Zven on the Senna, plus the grubs.
Okay, Inspired decides he wants to fight, though, but he's going in with a bunch of backup from C9, ready to arrive. A nice Mega Gnar into the wall, sets it up for Zven to grab the second kill. A third kill goes the way of Cloud9 before FlyQuest ever makes their way onto the board. Bwipo prepares a decimating smash for a nice knock-up onto 2, but Vulcan's ready to return the favor as Bwipo drops, and C9 have a 4-kill-to-0 lead.
Huge blunder by FlyQuest going back in when Thanatos has Mega Gnar, he has Prio coming from the top side, and he makes the big flash play.
And this is one of those plays where someone makes a mistake and then everyone's trying to make up for it. And they're making the next mistake and the next mistake because Inspired overstays, he gets caught. Then Bwipo ults in, uses his flash, he dies too. Like the only positive from that is Massu got a ton of stacks, but I mean, Cloud9 now opening up a nearly 2,000 gold lead.
That is a clear example of the sunk cost fallacy. They go into it. Inspired is toast here. Nice flash in, and Vulcan even combos off of the Gnar ultimate. Everything over the top means they are dead. But as you say, then you kind of try and go in, you're like, oh no, we got to salvage this play, but you should not salvage. Plays like that are already losing. So Sion ult is used, so he can't use his Sion ult to get back to lane quicker. After this, he also goes down. More deaths here, and that is a very good look for Cloud9.
I mean, it would have been a good play for Cloud9 regardless, but had FlyQuest just accepted, all right, Inspired's dead, you still got the flash off Thanatos, he used his ult, that's not that bad. But when Busio goes in to try to bail him out, Bwipo roams down to try to bail him out, they both die too. It does become a bit catastrophic there, especially because it's Zven, who got 3 early kills now. We were talking about some of the problems that Cloud9 might have with dealing with this Sion later on.
Yeah.
Well, the Sion is only level 8, not even that far ahead, and you have 3 early kills here for Zven, who's going to be very accelerated and have a much better time at actually knocking down this Sion.
And you can see right there, the acceleration for Zven means the very early completion of the static shiv alongside the swiftness boots already being all the way done. We go back to the interview that Kangas had with Reaper. Reaper specifically talked about telling Zven, hey, Rakan, that's the only thing that'll threaten you. The extra move speed will allow him to maintain that distance.
Yeah, he's got those, plus he has the Ghost, so move speed upon move speed for the Senna should be able to keep safe. They're going to make a strong play at the very least on the bottom side, but they do have some evasive maneuvers available to them.
Yeah, Quad having to flash very early there. Did not want to lose more health than he absolutely had to. You can see him and Busio, though, still looking for the opportunity, maybe, for a counterattack. Massu and Inspired are making their way down, but Zven and Vulcan are going to find them in the jungle. It's a 2v2. Vulcan leading the charge here, immediately pops the Unbreakable Will. Mom rolls her way into the fight, but it ain't going to matter. Meanwhile, Loki's already got the kill onto Quad as Blaber's going to try to stay alive. FlyQuest need to fire back a little bit better. Vulcan goes in for a beautiful double knockoff with the Dawning Shadow from Zven providing the extra damage. C9 are slaughtering FlyQuest as Massu tries to escape, and Loki passes him the ball. Only Bwipo is left standing, but he's in a 1 versus 5. Slammed back into the wall. C9, it'll take him a little while, but they'll get the job done. That's a 12-minute ace for Cloud9.
That's 5 for 0 here, 9-0 in total kills, 4,000 gold lead, 12 minutes in. FlyQuest is falling apart in game 3.
FlyQuest should have just called that play on bottom side a loss and then gone for a counterplay on top side, because they actually had Bwipo hitting tower on top side here. Take a look at the minimap. You have Bwipo already hitting the tower, so you can trade bottom side tower plates for the top side, but Quad got caught in that brush recalling. It was a very, very good pick from Cloud9 to actually stop him, and then FlyQuest still tried to make their trap play, teleporting Bwipo down, which results in massive, massive losses for them instead of just going for a cross map.
Yeah, we saw Quad nice escape there, just narrowly able to get out. Massu, definitely a look of frustration on his face. I mean, this is a game where I feel like FlyQuest just needed to chill and farm and scale, and they're kind of pushing the pace. They're forcing a lot of these fights, and they're putting themselves into a position where scaling might not matter anymore. They're so far down.
I have to say, though, it was a very good ward from Cloud9 in the deep rush that Quad was recalling in that allowed Loki to go for that play and flash surprise Quad. So really good job by Cloud9, you know, following up. You place your deep vision, and oftentimes, even if you don't know that's going to provide you a future play, it often does. Here, though, the pressure continues. More turret plate money for them.
More turret plate money backed up by the fact, remember, they got 2 out of 3 of the grubs. Thanatos looking to fight Bwipo in the 1v1 down on the bottom side at the same time as Vulcan and Blaber have to try to disengage back up here on the top side of the map as Bwipo is about to die to Thanatos. Meanwhile, in that 1v1 I was talking about, he's already knocked into the zombie form as Busio with a quickness has to try to disengage. C9 going right back in. Mom hits nobody. Now another beautiful tackle into the wall. It's 2 dead in 2 different fights for a Cloud9 that is now 11-0 over FlyQuest.
And this time, they're the ones on the other side of the map pushing, so they win this side of the map, and they've got an extra. Thanatos, who doesn't even have to fight anyone here and is already rich, is going to get extra solo tower gold. He already has the Trinity Force. The Gnar is going to be massive.
And you can see Zen is ahead of the average Senna stacks here, and that isn't even including the support Sennas. So in a really good position. Bwipo went for the Deadmans, which is kind of this tech you go into these range versus melee matchups sometimes. It's supposed to be really good for that, but Thanatos took care of business, no problem, gets the kill. He's 3-0-5. You have 5 kills on the Orianna. You've got 3 kills on Zven. And this honestly wasn't that close. I mean, he's channeling up that Q, but this is a Mega Gnar, and you have to be so careful when they are in Mega. He had no flash, he had no ult, and Thanatos just kind of keeps him locked in. Easy kill.
Wins the side lane on Trinity Force.
2 seconds, my spells. Spells. Nice. He's dead. Nice, guys. I solo kill Sion too. Nice.
I love how just the additional thing. Yeah, I solo killed Sion too. Everybody else is worried about their fight in the top side. Thanatos just making sure everybody's caught up to date on the latest information. C9 going in after the Herald, but a beautiful steal from Inspired as Blaber's now in the middle of 3. He tackles Inspired back into the wall and flashes away to safety. Inspired protecting himself with a Crescent Guard, but only for a moment. Thanatos has already found the first kill as Busio has to run before he becomes the second. FlyQuest, they stole away the Herald, but C9 get the 1 kill kill afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. You know, you're just going for these desperation plays. It's an objective bounty, so honestly, you know, still pretty good for them that they are able to grab it. Massu has 152 stacks, so he is stacking very quickly, but it's 12-0, and Loki is in an incredible spot here. You know, he's very accelerated. We see that Zven is very accelerated. The Gnar is very accelerated. Bwipo is not really going to be a problem, it feels like, at this point.
All right, who's going to put on the brakes then? If they're all so accelerated. You know, sometimes when you're that far behind.
No brakes.
Exactly. You got a full send to get objective bounties because that is the way that you try and put on the brakes. And oftentimes, at least if you want to remain hopeful, when you steal a Rift Herald, not only is it that objective bounty shut down, but you can often use the eyeball to get one of the outer towers as well.
Did he get the eye, did he?
Yeah,
Okay,
he did.
Yeah, he got it right there at the end.
But you can often use that eyeball to get an outer tower and get another one.
2 for 1.
So that's why Inspired wanted a full
Guys,
send.
we've got a bit of a problem here in the FlyQuest jungle as Inspired is caught again. The Cloud9 gank squad just getting it done. Massu's got no way out of there. Thanatos jumps over the wall. Massu was 3 feet away from the turret, and that was 3 feet too far. Cloud9 are not giving
Blaber.
FlyQuest even an inch of Summoner's Rift in this game as they continue their push, continue their pressure, continue a game that after 17 minutes has 14 kills, and they all belong to Cloud9.
Yeah, and I mean, it kind of tells the story right there. When you're a full HP Sion under your tower and you're having to flash away from a dive, it is pretty frightening stuff. And Busio even having to use the ult just to try to run away. They do get an objective bounty on the top side there for a quad, but still the gold lead extending, and it's going to be Cloud9 first to the Dragon.
I mean, you're saying first to the Dragon. I'm guessing only ones to the Dragon, especially now with Busio not having that ultimate, not having that real singular engage tool for the side of FlyQuest. It feels like it's just a suicide mission to try to go in there and stop them from taking this objective. The Herald's going to be summoned up instead, as FlyQuest will at least try to get that tier 1 turret with it that you mentioned earlier, Kobe. Looks like they're going to succeed on that one, but the cost could be great. Inspired going in after Zven does put some pressure onto the Senna. Mom also colliding for a bit of extra damage as C9 scramble to retreat, get back to a safe position. FlyQuest, honestly, good moves there, using the Herald, putting the pressure onto Zven. They get the ghost out of him, they do some good damage, and now Flyer heading over to the Drake pit.
Thanatos no TP, and he's still showing top, so they might actually have to give this Dragon here. So FlyQuest being able to take the tier 1 mid, being able to take the Dragon from this heavily losing position is honestly so good for them, and I don't feel like C9 should have allowed them to do it.
Well, objective bounties were put into the game for a reason, and this is the reason. Okay. Because it gives FlyQuest something to play for, something to get back in, and something to trade here. Actually, and in the end, they're even able to get Quad to defend the secondary tower. So Cloud9 did not get this team-wide 800 gold for a side tower, 675 individually, plus 25 for everyone on your team. And so these bounties that FlyQuest keep collecting are significantly cutting down on this lead, keeping this one, you know, a bit within reach. I'd still say Cloud9 have a massive, massive lead and setup here, especially because the Orianna has so much power.
Yeah, C9 fans have been loving Game 2 and Game 3. And if you're loving Finals Weekend and can't wait for the next one, tickets are already on sale for the LTA Championship driven by Kia. Remember, that one's going to be in Dallas this September. It'll be the first ever LTA Championship. You can visit Ticketmaster to get yours now. Let's see if FlyQuest can keep moving their way forward in this game. It is still quite a mountain to have to climb. There are still no kills for anyone wearing a FlyQuest jersey, as we've still got about 4 minutes until the next Drake spawns. Quad versus Thanatos up here on the top side. Thanatos is going to lose his Sterix. Quad trying to use the Realm Warp to guarantee the kill. Flash over the wall. Thanatos is going to get caught. Quad just got 1,000 gold shut down.
That is massive, and I gotta say, Thanatos, I have to criticize him for not showing up to that Dragon earlier, and now he gets solo killed, giving over 1k to the Ryze in the side lane, and all of a sudden, the comeback starts to become a little bit more realistic. Massu's closing in on Azael. He's going to have 225 stacks soon, and now Quad has a full large rod that he just buys off of that kill. The carries are scaling for FlyQuest.
This is one of those games where the C9 fans are going to be calling up Freak after and be like, so what can we do about these bounties? I think they're a little bit strong here. FlyQuest, let's see if they come get another one towards the Otacon. Cloud9, of course, when you're in on the Otacon, it will shred your magic resistance and your armor. FlyQuest are coming to fight it.
Okay, C9 only have the Otacon down to about 1/3 HP so far. Their DPS is not particularly quick. FlyQuest looking for an opportunity to still try to make something happen here. Blaber misses, trying to use the Poppy ult. Bwipo dives into the middle of everybody, but where is the rest of the backup? Bwipo still staying alive thanks to the Soul Furnace, but now finally going to die as Zven goes on a rampage. Otacon down to 2,000. Inspired jumps in. He steals it away again! C9 still trying to fight. FlyQuest have already lost one, but they stole away the objective. Inspired stuck here in the front with the Dawning Shadow blasting right through him. Inspired about to drop as Busio has already fallen. At least they're going to trade one back. Massu's going forward for a little bit more damage on this Zven, but he can't quite find enough. Quad protecting his Smolder, as now they're going to look out for Thanatos as well. Quad is the only man standing as Zven goes godlike and guns Massu down. Quad in a 1v4, but can he play those odds? Loki with the phase rush Orianna, just kiting him out. The Ryze cannot close the gap. Quad's going to grab the first kill. He tries to fire back, but the overload won't connect. Loki is godlike. Bwipo is TP'd in, but the fight's already over.
The TP takes too long. Quad is already down, but he took two with him. FlyQuest, they get the Otacon. That is going to be lasting power. Look at that, 30 petals.
Yeah.
They can continue to collect them. They are empowered. Let's take another look at it because it actually started off pretty poorly for them, with Bwipo going all the way past the Otacon here and going down very early. He still got value from his Sion passive, getting back up and punching because Inspired went for the steal.
Yeah, exactly. Inspired's able to go in here. You know, Quad was getting early damage down on Thanatos. He gets in, he secures the steal. And Massu on the side got so much damage out on Loki, it was very difficult for him to play the rest of the fight. From here, I honestly thought they were going to struggle because Vulcan was kind of threatening on the side. The Senna ult comes through multiple members. The Shockwave hits on Inspired, but Massu's getting so much damage done. Loki's kind of stuck out on the side. Thanatos is stuck out on the other side. Quad's kind of zoning them out and created so much space for Massu. But then C9 played this very well, waiting for their cooldowns to come back up. Vulcan goes in, lands the stun. Zven can finish off that kill onto Massu, and then Quad... It's a lion amongst the lambs, but the lambs are fighting back.
Yeah, the Cloud9, they did a good job attacking from all sides, but not being in danger there, pulling the two FlyQuest carries apart from each other.
Looks fine. He's nothing, no? I'm just gonna... I'm dead. I ain't dead. I'm...
True, both sides agree.
Yeah, he's inting. Yeah, I inted.
2 out of 2 pros agree, that's an int. But I've got to say, it's under a 3K gold lead. It's 19-3. But you have the Otacon taken here by FlyQuest. You have the extra dragon here for FlyQuest. If you're looking at actual combat power, the gold lead really doesn't matter that much anymore. And you look over at Massu. Massu's at 236 stacks. He has the IE. I don't even think that C9 are in that advantageous of a position anymore. Like, FlyQuest have a real shot at this game from what seemed like an absolutely unwinnable spot. So Cloud9 have got to button up their play, make sure they are really playing well in these next fights, because you give over one more fight, all of a sudden the game is even, and you're in a world of trouble.
Cloud9 will claim that 4th dragon of the game, though, tied 2-2 on that count now, as Blaber finds himself in enemy territory. Bwipo looking to cut him off there, decimating smash charge long enough to get the knockup, but Inspired not close enough there where the wind becomes lightning. Blaber's got Thanatos nearby, he'll be fine.
The breakpoint I really want to highlight here is going to be the death cap for Ryze, because the Orianna has been so far ahead for the majority of this game, doing so well. Loki, really, really big plays from him, 7-0. But when you complete this death cap for Ryze, you already saw how much damage he was doing. Quad was probably the most dangerous person that was still standing for FlyQuest. And the death cap just takes it to a whole nother level. And he can use that power to split push and get it into a much better map state here for FlyQuest.
And I think he probably has the death cap he's basing now, so he's going to likely have that gold to be able to buy it. You have to sell the Doran's ring, should be able to have it. He has enough. And he is going to be in that credible, strong spot. I mean, there's 7 kills on Loki, but he's behind on gold because one of the 2 kills for Quad was over 1,000 gold that he got from taking down Thanatos.
It's worth 3 on its own.
Yeah,
it's just a ton of money. You can see he's up very slightly in terms of farm as well, but it is still a 3,500 gold lead team-wide for the side of C9. Over half of that is Thanatos over Bwipo. Azael, earlier on in the game, you said you had to be critical of Thanatos not joining for the dragon fight, of Thanatos pushing too far in the side lane, getting caught by the Ryze, giving over that massive shutdown. And I feel like with him owning more than half of the team's gold lead, closer to 2/3 now, he's got to make sure he's not giving away those silly mistakes.
Absolutely. You know, he's got to be on point. Of course, you know, you have your carries super fed 707, 706 for the Orianna and the Senna. But on the other side, there's obviously a tremendous amount of scaling power for Massu as well as for Quad. And Quad is ahead in gold, level 16 on the Ryze, has the death gap. He is fully online. So if he has that good fight, absolutely can take over.
And Thanatos knows it. He's like, I need magic resist right now. Has to immediately get it. He knows what the side lanes are going to be dangerous.
Oh, they're just going to start the Baron here. They see that Quad is down on the bottom side, and there's no vision on this right now for FlyQuest, but Inspired spotted.
Yep, exactly. They're going to use the blue trinket, and now FlyQuest are on the approach. C9 trying to stop him. Inspired taking a ton of damage here at the very start of the fight, but Bwipo's coming in to try to save his life. Thanatos in danger here, gets a Mega Gnar, but it doesn't do a whole lot, only finding Bwipo. Masu's made his way into the fight, but Inspired is already dead. C9 taking the lead in this one as Bwipo flashes over the wall trying to escape. Immediately, Busio tries to get a knock up there on the Blaber to make something happen, but Blaber's ready to just tackle right back in. Loki is legendary and Massu is down. Quad gets a kill back onto Vulcan as FlyQuest continues to scramble and scatter.
The positioning for C9 was so good there. As FlyQuest looked to engage, they just kited back into this tight corridor where the carries, the shorter range carries here on the FlyQuest side couldn't really participate. And now with the Senna, they're just healing it back up there, back on the Baron.
Okay, C9, let's see if they can get this done. Bwipo trying to get a decimating smash there on the ward for the TP, but it won't matter. FlyQuest will not be here in time. Inspired is not alive to steal away another objective. It is Baron secured for the 4 core members of C9. Only Vulcan gonna miss out on that one.
This is looking so good for the Cloud9 Senna win condition. Let's take another look at the opening of the actual fight. Vulcan started it out on the front line.
Exactly. They're going to go for Inspired here, but then watch the positioning. Cloud9 kind of kites back, and they're playing in this corridor where you look at the Sion. Sion is isolated. Everyone's hitting him. Look at where Massu is. Look at where Quad is as he tries to go forward. They are getting sectioned off. They're not able to free fire. Zven is kiting back. Loki's kiting back. You're having to fight through the Orianna ball and this superior range from the Senna, and Cloud9, I think, just played that out expertly.
Yeah, and it just even gets better. Blaber flashes in, got the Smolder against the wall, they get the extra kill, they get the Baron afterwards, so you know they're immediately going to march on these secondary towers that FlyQuest have left standing so they can get this gold and push the game through.
You could definitely see the frustration on Masu's face in that replay as Bwipo losing 2/3 of his HP, forced back now. C9 continuing their push. That first tier 2 turret is removed.
As hard as FlyQuest fought to keep themselves in this game, they have been unable all game long to kill either carry on the side of Cloud9.
Yeah.
Still 0 deaths for both Loki and Zven. Still, they have their flashes up. Like, they can keep their range so easily here, and they're doing it very well with their positioning. You see Vulcan, this bodyguard, just hovering by them, ready to headbutt anyone back, ready to peel, ready to step in front.
Immediately, FlyQuest decide they want to try to go in, but a nice use of the ulti from Blaber turns it into an unfair fight. Bwipo is already dropped, and C9 is disengaging before the zombie passive can do anything. Blaber with a stun back into the wall. Thanatos isn't even here. He's pushing over in mid lane. They wanted to use the Realm Warp from Quad to try to catch him, maybe make it a 1-for-1 on the delay, but they don't find him. Now, immediately trying to re-engage. Thanatos knocked up into the air, but he flashes back to the rest of his team as FlyQuest are still trying to find some kind of an angle here to fight. Inspired with a knock up onto Blaber as Quad tries to chase forward, but instead the Ryze doesn't have the range, and Zven is going to take him out. Vulcan in some danger. Masu's got a lot of damage, but does he have enough? Zven tries to get away. Immediately Busio goes back in for the grand entrance. He can't find him, but Masu's going to grab the kill. Masu trying to go to town. He gets a triple with the Smolder execution. And Busio and Inspired now got to deal with Loki and Thanatos, and they want nothing to do with this 2v2. FlyQuest will get an even fight and hold the line. The TP's coming in, but you've already got Baron empowered recalls. It should be C9 getting out of there, but Loki overstays his welcome. Bwipo has found the enemy Orianna. Zven got his first death in the last fight, and Loki might just get his right here.
Thank goodness for phase rush there. Loki's able to proc it. He runs out, and it actually delays that dragon take. Cloud9, they're still chasing to the ends of the earth here, but the Orianna is just running them across the map.
Phase rush only works if you can hit dudes.
He has nowhere to go.
Here comes the Bwipo train, and Loki gets buried from an 1,100 gold shutdown.
Yeah, that is a huge shutdown. Thanatos is already on the dragon, though, so we'll see. They can't get there in time. It's going to be a C9 dragon.
That's why he's running them up to the other side of the map to try and buy time there. And Cloud9 looks like they'll be the ones getting to soul points.
Still, I gotta say, kind of costly there. Loki canceled his recall. He decided to cancel it. He wasn't sure if he wanted to stay around or not. His teammate finished the recall. He stayed, gives over 1,100 gold. And it is just this 4K now in the advantage here for C9, but Bwipo maybe in a little bit of trouble. Could get chased down, has no ulti.
Yeah, Bwipo without the ult to get away from this one. It will take him a while because he has the Soul Furnace. Inspired jumps in.
Massu's here.
Now they're going to look for Thanatos. Massu, keep your eyes on him. There's so much damage on this Smolder. Bwipo and Inspired doing all right here in the 2v2 so far with Mom coming in. But the Sterix from Thanatos keeping him protected. Vulcan wants to try to go back into the fight immediately. Blaber found the angle on Zven. As Massu is down, Blaber with a massive pick on the big cannon for FlyQuest. Bwipo stuck on the front line, about to die. Inspired solo on HP, it's hard to fight back. Quad is behind enemy lines, and he'll be buried right there. A double kill for Loki as Blaber continues charging forward. Inspired and Busio both knocked up into the air by Vulcan, and Blaber keeps hunting. Another hit should be able to find the final bit of damage for the kill, and Zven will do just that. Inspired's the last to die, and C9 get the ace.
Blaber making the difference there. He wrapped around into the banana brush above the red buff there, found an angle, a flash over the wall, gets the stun on Massu, takes the fight into his own hands, takes down Massu. Blaber said he wanted to prove he is the best jungler in the league, and he's finding a good argument with fights like that.
Meanwhile, on the other side, they dive Thanatos, and Quad actually goes past the turret. So this is a very long fight. We'll go back to the origins because both teams, you can see on the minimap, have members on the way. They are both willing to fight over by the Krugs. Massu then can flap over the wall. They want to go for Thanatos, pops both of the shields, but then here we go. The Blaber moment, he flashes over, he's able to tackle him into the wall. He takes out the carry. He has enough burst damage to do himself, and there's Quad's tower dive I'm talking about, sectioned out, but on live Flowers, they are looking like they're positioning for another scrap. And we all know how this one ended up here with Cloud9 being the victors, grabbing the extra kills. They're the ones on Soul Point. They're the ones right in front of Baron as it spawns.
Still in a good spot, but that scaling from FlyQuest is always making things tricky. You know, it's not a guaranteed win. Cloud9 have got to be clean in these fights.
C9, though, scaling on their own. They've got lots of Senna stacks. Blaber jumping in here with the very start of things. Thanatos wants an angle, but he's going to be CC'd. He has to crunch back out as FlyQuest. They lose 2/3 of Bwipo's health bar, but everybody else is still doing just fine. Again, Zven at 130 stacks here on the Senna. Yes, technically Smolder scales for infinity, but it's much less effective after 225. Senna keeps that efficacy all the way to the end of the game as C9 are going to start up the Baron themselves. FlyQuest on the approach. Keep your eyes on Busio. He's got the smite ready to maybe steal it away. Loki's going to lose half his HP here at the very beginning of the fight as Inspired jumps in and makes some space versus 4. Thanatos, no Narbar, but now he's at the pincer angle. C9 disengaging. FlyQuest have disrupted the Baron for now.
But look at Inspired's health. He's incredibly low. They're going to look for Thanatos.
Thanatos knocked up into the air. A beautiful little bit of juggling coming out from Busio to set it up for Massu. But now Bwipo's going to get traded back. Both top laners down.
The fight's going to continue. FlyQuest are posturing here. They do have control over mid lane, but look at Blaber again positioning himself for a surprising angle of attack. FlyQuest just going to go mid, though. They get the tier 2 already, and Massu is pushing this in, so they're forcing C9 to base and respond to the play. FlyQuest again holding on, extending the game. This one is not over.
If you look at the scoreboard and see 10-30, most of the time you'd be like, it's just got to be a stomp of a game. This is so much closer than those kill scores would lead you to believe. Zven's Senna, now at the 140 souls mark, almost full build, has 4 fully completed items, BF sword for the last one in inventory, but Massu, look at that. 4 fully completed items on the Smolder with the Seeker's arm guard occupying the last slot to try to make a big play in the next big fight.
They're going to have to get a really good engage here. The Dragon, and this is for Seoul, is only 36 seconds away. Cloud9 already have vision control. They're going to have priority. So FlyQuest have to put some sort of pressure here, either to bully their way in and get their vision back, or threaten up by Baron. Looks like they're covering the other side of it. Ryze split pushing.
And critical to note, Busio did swap out his smite, so now he's on exhaust here. So he spellbooks over to the exhaust. Really powerful if he can use it at the right timing. Was so on point in that last fight, with his grand entrance, catching Thanatos out of his hop and allowing them to get that kill.
Yeah, if you can exhaust Orianna before her combo, if you can exhaust the Gnar when he tries to go in, so much potential.
They're going Baron.
There's only 10 seconds left on his flash, but they're going to trade objectives. The fight will not happen now. It will be after the Soul has been claimed.
Okay, Baron over to FlyQuest. The Baron for Soul trade is always a classic because the Soul lasts forever, even if the Baron is more powerful in the moment. It just means you need to get a lot of value out of the next 3 minutes.
And it also means to me that FlyQuest made the evaluation that we can't actually win this fight. We can't actually get to the Dragon. So they're saying, we're going to take the Baron now, we're going to try to get gold from this, and then we are going to come out and we're going to fight an Elder, which can be the true equalizer. Because by taking the Baron off the map, it's hard to utilize this power of the Soul to end the game as long as FlyQuest plays safe. So they're going to look here for 5.5, go to the Elder, try to win your fight there, and try to end the game right off of that play.
Exactly. The Baron for another 2.5 minutes. The Elder timer slightly over 5 means you're going to have about 2 minutes and change for both teams to jockey for position looking at that massive Uber buff.
And I 100% tend to agree with them because vision control for the setup for these fights is more massive than a lot of these gold leads that you'll see on screen. So because Cloud9 already had positioning, they already had the Scuttle Crab, you should just go for the trade. That doesn't make it a lot easier though. Zven completes the Guardian Angel. This Senna that is going to get so much range here, already has so much range in scaling and has been so far ahead. Soon we'll have Ghost up as well. Will be so mobile, so difficult to deal with.
Speaking of difficult to deal with, Thanatos is up in the top lane, completely unanswered, pushing. Realm Warp into the back, inspired of Busio, looking to make something happen here as they try to dive towards Cloud9. Mom roars in, Zven and Loki both nearly killed, but everybody's still somehow staying alive. Thanatos has made his way into the fight now as Blaber tries to tackle into Massu, but he ain't gonna find the angle here for the kill just yet. Thanatos still chasing, Massu getting away off to the side, inspired about to die, but still hanging on. The tier 2 turret is claimed, but now C9 of a 5 versus 4. Massu and Bwipo still trying to get away from this one. Blaber tackles forward, but there's no wall to slam the Smolder into. Bwipo's still stuck in the front line now, but that's not an easy-to-kill target. C9 got the firepower. They're looking to take him down as Busio can't get away either yet. The steadfast presence locks them up, and C9 beat him down.
FlyQuest went for the surprise play, but with the Ocean Soul, Cloud9 win out in the war of attrition. They will chase them down. Massu flaps away from Loki, but can he get away from Blaber?
He's got to try to avoid getting tackled into these walls. Blaber doesn't find a stun right there. Ocean Soul is so strong, man. Blaber's going to look for another chance here. Massu misses him with the snot bubble. Blaber still chasing. Massu trying to flap over the wall. Blaber gets the ace. C9's in the base, 35-10. It was such a closer fight than we thought it was gonna be. But C9 will emerge triumphant in this third game. Inspired will not stop the game-ending push. Busio just gonna be another kill for a 37-10 scoreline. C9 going to match point.